Welcome to this video on how to create your own resume. The first step we're going to do is to determine the format in which we're going to create a resume. There are many formats that are out there. And the important thing to remember, a resume is your opportunity to sell yourself so that you can get a job and have the opportunity to utilize the skills that you have been given in the workplace. The first thing we're going to do is utilize the Google Docs to create your resume. There are many templates out there and many formats. This is just one approach that we're going to use to simplify and streamline the process. Under the apps store here on Google, you will click on Google Docs. Once you click on Google Docs, it will take you to the place where you can start a new document. Here, there's the opportunity to click for more. As you click for more, you'll see there are 4 sample resumes. At this point in time, go ahead and get to this step, peruse these 4 resumes, select the one that you are going to utilize, and then restart the video. Now that you've had the opportunity to select a resume, what we're going to do is start to edit the materials. I highly discourage you from taking and deleting an entire section. You run the risk of deleting formatting that has already been created in this template, which is why we're using a template. If you do delete this material, please go over here to the undo button and hit undo. When you're ready to change the information, where this said your name, you will type your name. Go ahead and edit the address, phone number, and the email so that you have this information correct. I would encourage you to use your original email. However, if you have a personal email that you want to go ahead and link to, or you're ready to move to the next steps of college or job interviews or scholarship interviews and you want to use your personal email, just make sure that it's appropriate so that it's not an inappropriate thing at gmail.com, because that is a way for an employer to truly judge you. The thing that we need to keep in mind is, according to this article, 5 things your employer is evaluating in your resume. Use your 30 seconds wisely. That means you get about 30 seconds for someone to look at your resume, determine whether or not they want to read it, and then move forward. The 5 key aspects, and you can pause this video and read these aspects more in depth so that you get a great understanding. And remember, you are turning a resume in for a grade, but in reality, this is your chance to have personalized service in a great learning environment to build a strong resume. When you graduate from high school and go out into the world of work, there are many people that will take your money to develop a resume. I want to spend some time in high school so that we can give you the tools and techniques that you need to create a fantastic resume that will prepare you for a job in the future. When you read this article, the first thing they say that is a way for employers to evaluate your resume is it easy to read? Hopefully you've selected one of those resumes and it's fairly easy to read. The thing you have to keep in mind is when you go ahead and do fonts, make sure your fonts are at least an 11-point size, because many people who are evaluating resumes may have more experienced eyes that need a little bit bigger font. Number 2, do you have skills that are essential to the job? This is a little more difficult to do at this point in time because you're not quite sure what your job will be in the future. So at this point in time, you might write this broadly. However, when you are ready to specifically interview for an industry or apply for a job in a specific industry, it would behoove you, it would be beneficial for you to look online for some example resumes in that field or in that industry so you can learn some of the taglines and some of the aspects of what they're looking at. In addition, you're going to want to take the job application or the job description, tie those key characteristics they're looking for in the job description right back into your resume so you can really let the employer know you have done your homework and you've taken your time to really investigate their company and what the opportunities are. Number 3, how can you articulate your accomplishments in a way that makes you stand out? The challenge with most people when they're working in a resume is they are far too humble. They don't take the time to really dig deep and say, how am I different than other people? Now, darn it, if you don't think you're different, we need to have a conversation. Each of us are given God-given talents and abilities. Granted, some of us still need to continue to grow them. I'm included in that piece. But what are the pieces that separate us from other people? And how do we articulate that on our resume? Are you someone that stays in a job for a while? Need to be cautious as you move into high school and into college that you're not just job hopping, that you're at a job for 2 weeks and then you pop to another job. That looks bad for an employer. However, we'll look at some resumes that have some employer experience or some work experience and some that do not. Then the last question is, how can you add value to your company or to the company? I want you to think about yourself as an employer for a minute. If you're looking to hire someone in your company, what are the things that you need in an employee that's going to make them valuable? As you take a moment and finish perusing this article and reading over the 5 things that make a difference, it will give you a greater understanding of where we're headed next. Where we're headed next is to look into this resume more deeply. This line here, while it looks like gibberish right now, really is a career objective. So this is a place where you can go in and say, this is a career that I would like to do. On Schoology, I have uploaded 3 example resumes for you of former students from Ridgemont. For right now, we're going to look at their career objectives. Feel free to pause this video at any point in time and look through their career objectives so that you can understand what they were looking at when they were writing the resume. And remember, most of them were in juniors or seniors in high school when they wrote these. So those career objectives are what we're looking to put at this point in your resume. Make sure that you've updated your personal information. It is correct and it is capitalized. I tell you what, when you look at a resume and it is not done well, you're going to quickly sift through those as an employer and toss out anyone who can't even pay attention to their own resume, that one marketing tool that they have total control over. Very, very important that you proofread your resume. When we move into experiences, I'm going to show you a couple different resumes. One resume doesn't have any work experience at all, but has a lot of school activities and events like that. This resume has quite a bit of work experience, and you can see how they describe their work experience. And this resume talks to you about work experience that is on the home farm and babysitting. So just because you're not paid for a job doesn't mean that you shouldn't include it here in experience, because any experience you have can really help to understand how you as an employee can be beneficial to the school, to the business that you're applying to. Here under skills, there's an opportunity for you to look into a couple documents here. This first document gives some great examples of specific skills. Please make sure that you alter the action verb that you start the sentence with so that you can think about what these are. Take a moment, peruse these, see which ones relate to you. I'll show you a couple here. These are some basic listed skills. However, Cody, because he has work experience, doesn't have skills in his. And Riley has them listed. I would encourage you, as you look at these skills, to think about describing them a touch more than what we have done previously in resumes. So if you look at this, it kind of describes in a short synopsis what the skill is. We don't need a long description, just long enough to understand what you bring to the table. Awards, here are some awards that are listed. If you don't have awards, don't delete that section yet, please. Go ahead and put your Green Hand degree in. Space that out so that it pops to the second line and put Ridgemont FFA there. That way we have a space keeper for awards. Remember, your resume is really never done because it is you going through all the activities and events that you have done over your time and highlighting those. For education, I'll show you a couple examples here. Here is Katie Marshall's. She has her school, her graduation date, her attendance, her GPA. If you do not have a 3.0 or above, please do not include your GPA. You can see that all 3 of these are very, very similar resumes, and you can pause this at any point in time to go in and look at the school part of it. Under projects, this is where it's a great opportunity to put activities Oops, make sure that's all capitalized. And school events, or however you would like to title that. If we look at these for school activities, you can see they have a multitude of different activities and how they have them listed out. Again, you can pause at any point in time and harvest any of these community or skill activities that fit you. This is Riley's. Riley has a fairly good description, a very good description down here of each of her activities she was involved in. If you'll remember, on Schoology, under your Food for America folder, in the reflection piece of that, discussion number 3 is your tagline that you wrote for your resume. So if we go to Food for America, we go to reflection, and you look at this resume tagline, you have a Food for America tagline that you can copy and paste directly into here under Food for America or Ridgemont FFA, and then put the details underneath of it. If you speak a foreign language, you can put that there. You can review these resumes and say, what are the pieces they have that maybe I want to add into that section or alter in that section? And really look through, how do we personalize this resume to fit you? So we've looked over key skills. We have talked about how we want to create this resume. Now we're going to talk about a rubric for the resume. Before we do that though, let me flip to the bottom. Okay, rubric for the resume. The rubric for the resume is pretty simple at this point. The personal information, does it meet this exceptional? And let's just shoot for exceptional. There's no sense in shooting for like, I attempted this, because that doesn't really make sense in today's educational society, because with this resume, you want to get a job. So if we look here, you can read through these pieces, verify that you have all of those done when you complete your resume, and just really look through your resume for clarity and thoroughness. I would recommend having your parents or some other adults proofread your resume and giving you some of that 30-second feedback. What do they think immediately out of the process? The last thing we're going to have you do is 25 editing tips for tightening your copy. What this means are, what are some of the most common mistakes that people make? If you'll pause the video at this point in time, go back through this video, or go back through this checklist and see if any of these 25 items fit your resume, and then figure out how to fix those pieces or modify them. So the goal of this is truly to create a great resume for you that is going to get you a job in the future. That is the key aspect of where we're headed. One additional piece that we need to address is who your references will be. And you can see some of these are older because these are a couple older resumes, but good examples of that. You need to include the reference person's name, their position, their school, or their place of employment, their address, and their phone number. Make sure that you communicate with your references that you are planning on utilizing them for a job offer. This is a quick introduction to resumes that will get you started and get you a solid foundation in which to provide an opportunity for us to grow from. As always, if you have questions, comments, or concerns about your resume, feel free to text me or email me so that I can assist you in this process. Remember, your resume is your opportunity to brag about your skills and share those with those who you would like to be employed through. Thank you for working on your resume, creating a fantastic piece of evidence that highlights your abilities and skills.